Mark and Lisa, our resistance story home fitness revolution. Mark had just moved the couch back against the wall for the third time that week. His living room had become a puzzle he couldn't solve. Yoga mat crumpled in the corner, dumbbells collecting dust near the TV stand, and a growing sense that something fundamental was missing from his home workout routine. Lisa found him sitting on the floor one evening, staring at the space between the coffee table and the bookshelf. Still trying to figure it out, she asked, already knowing the answer. He nodded slowly. They'd both committed to staying consistent with exercise at home after their gym memberships expired, but the reality was harder than either had admitted out loud. What they didn't know yet was that the solution wouldn't require more space, more equipment, or even more motivation. It would come from something so simple they'd almost overlooked it completely. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. The problem started months earlier when Mark realized he was spending more time driving to and from the gym than actually working out. 45 minutes round trip, parking struggles, waiting for equipment, it all added up to a habit that felt more like a chore than self-care. Lisa had her own reasons. Working from home meant her schedule was flexible but unpredictable. Some days she'd have a 2-hour window at noon, other days nothing until 8 at night. The gym's hours never quite matched her life's rhythm, so they made the decision together. Bring fitness home. The first month was exciting. They bought a set of adjustable dumbbells, a kettlebell, and watched countless YouTube videos about bodyweight training. Mark did push-ups until his shoulders ached. Lisa tried following along with high-intensity interval workouts that left her exhausted but somehow unsatisfied. By month 2, the cracks started showing. Mark's lower back began bothering him during certain movements. Something about the rigid, fixed weights didn't allow him to adjust his form naturally. Lisa found herself bored with the same exercises, limited by what their small equipment collection could offer. Then winter hit, and with it, the real test. The living room felt smaller somehow. The dumbbells seemed heavier, just sitting there, silently judging them. They'd invested in the equipment, cleared the space, set the intentions, but something still wasn't clicking. Was it really possible to get a complete workout at home, or were they fooling themselves? Lisa started researching one Saturday morning while Mark made coffee. She wasn't looking for anything specific, just scrolling through fitness forums and reading about what other people were using. That's when she stumbled across a conversation that stopped her mid-scroll. Someone had written, "I spent 2 years and hundreds of dollars on home gym equipment before I realized I was overcomplicating everything. Once I switched to resistance bands, my entire relationship with working out changed." She read it again. Resistance bands. Those stretchy things that always seemed like the consolation prize of fitness equipment. The portable, lightweight, almost toy-like accessories that serious athletes probably never touched. Part of her dismissed it immediately, but another part, the part that was tired of moving dumbbells around and feeling constrained by their limited options, was curious. Mark noticed her expression. "Find something." "Maybe," she said slowly. "But it sounds too simple to actually work." That phrase would haunt her for the next week as she dug deeper. What she discovered wasn't just about equipment, it was about physics, biomechanics, and a fundamental misunderstanding she'd had about resistance training all along. Traditional weights provide constant resistance. A 20-pound dumbbell weighs 20 pounds at every point in a movement, at the bottom of a curl, at the top, everywhere in between. Your muscles work hardest at their weakest point in the range of motion, which limits how much load they can handle overall. Resistance bands work differently. They provide progressive resistance, meaning the tension increases as you stretch them further. This creates what exercise scientists call variable resistance, where your muscles face their greatest challenge at their strongest point in the movement. It was biomechanically more aligned with how human muscles actually function. But Lisa wasn't convinced by the theory alone. She needed something more tangible, more real. What do you do when everything you've tried feels like it's missing something essential? She ordered a simple set of resistance bands, nothing expensive, just a starter kit to test the concept. They arrived on a Wednesday. Mark eyed them skeptically as Lisa pulled them from the box. "Those are going to replace dumbbells." "Not replace," Lisa corrected. "Complement." "Maybe, we'll see." The first workout was awkward. They had to relearn movement patterns they thought they'd mastered. A chest press felt completely different with bands than with dumbbells. A squat had a strange, unfamiliar tension at the top. Lisa almost gave up 15 minutes in. But then something unexpected happened. She was doing a shoulder exercise, a lateral raise she'd done hundreds of times with light dumbbells in. She felt her muscles engage in a way they never had before. The progressive resistance meant that as her arm raised and her shoulder muscles got into their strongest position, the band provided maximum challenge exactly when she could handle it best. Mark noticed it too, though he didn't say anything at first. The bands allowed him to adjust his angles mid-movement, accommodating his lower back issue in a way fixed weights never could. If something felt wrong, he could shift his stance, change the band's anchor point, or adjust the tension instantly. The flexibility was almost absurd. Was it really working, or just coincidence? Mark asked one night after their third session. Lisa didn't answer immediately. She'd been thinking the same thing. The novelty factor made it hard to judge objectively. They decided to commit to 2 full weeks, tracking how they felt after each workout. By day 10, Mark's lower back pain had decreased noticeably. Not disappeared. This isn't medical advice, just educational observation. But the ability to control angles and tension throughout movements meant he was unforcing his body into positions that aggravated the issue. Lisa found something even more valuable: variety, with different bands providing different resistance levels, and the ability to anchor them at multiple points around their living room. The number of possible exercises exploded. She wasn't doing the same boring routine anymore. Chest presses, rows, bicep curls, tricep extensions, leg work, core stability, all with equipment that fit in a drawer. The space problem had solved itself almost by accident. The dumbbells that dominated their floor space got tucked away. The yoga mat stayed out because they actually used it now, pairing band work with stretching and mobility exercises. The living room felt open again. But there was still one thing they couldn't explain. Why hadn't anyone told them this earlier? Mark had a theory. I think we assume heavier and more complex means better. Bands seem too easy, too portable, too accessible. Like if it doesn't take up space and cost hundreds of dollars, it can't be serious. Lisa laughed, realizing how true that felt. They'd been conditioned to equate fitness equipment with gyms full of machines and racks of heavy plates. The idea that something compact could deliver real results seemed counterintuitive. She started reading research studies, actual published exercise science, not just blogs, and found validation. Multiple studies showed resistance band training produced similar or better muscle activation compared to traditional weights, especially for certain muscle groups and movement patterns. One study particularly stood out. Older adults using resistance bands showed improved functional strength and reduced injury risk compared to those using fixed weights. The progressive resistance allowed for better muscle engagement through full ranges of motion without the same joint stress. This wasn't alternative fitness. It was just fitness, approached from a different mechanical principle. By week 4, both Mark and Lisa had restructured their entire approach. Bands became their primary tool, with occasional bodyweight work and stretching integrated naturally. The routine they'd struggled to maintain for months suddenly felt effortless, not because the workouts were easier, but because the friction had disappeared. No more rearranging furniture. No more feeling limited by equipment. No more dreading the workout before it started because setup was annoying. Mark did something he had done since college. He started working out in his office between meetings. The bands lived in his desk drawer. 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, quick sessions that accumulated into real training volume without requiring a dedicated block of time. Lisa brought them traveling. Hotel room workouts that actually worked. No more skipping exercise for a week because the hotel gym was terrible or non-existent. Part of me still doubted it at first. Could something this simple really change our entire fitness approach? But the evidence was in how we felt, how consistently we showed up, and how the results kept improving. What surprised me most was not just how the right resistance bands had improved my experience with home workout training, but how everything started to feel different once I switched to the right method. I wasn't expecting such a clear change, and honestly, I tested it more than a few times before I figured out what really worked. This isn't a promotion or endorsement, just sharing real results that made a noticeable difference for me. I'll leave the link below if you want to dig deeper and understand what I mean. The transformation wasn't dramatic in the Hollywood sense. There were no before and after photos with perfect lighting and flexed poses. The change was subtler and somehow more meaningful. Mark moved better. His back stopped being a constant consideration in every movement. Lisa felt stronger not just physically, but in her relationship with exercise itself. Working out stopped being something she had to force and became something she genuinely looked forward to. They accidentally discovered what many professional trainers and physical therapists had known for years, that resistance bands offered unique biomechanical advantages that complemented or even exceeded traditional equipment for many applications. The portability and flexibility were bonuses. The real value was in the quality of resistance itself. One evening, sitting in their now spacious living room after a workout, Lisa turned to Mark. "Remember when you were sitting here staring at this space, trying to figure out the puzzle?" He smiled. "Turns out we were trying to fit the wrong pieces. The truth is, home fitness doesn't require an elaborate setup, expensive machines, or even that much space. It requires understanding the principles of resistance, movement, and progressive overload, and then finding tools that support those principles rather than complicate them." For Mark and Lisa, resistance bands became that tool. Simple physics applied thoughtfully. Variable resistance matching human biomechanics, convenience that removed barriers instead of creating them. They weren't fitness influencers or athletes. Just two people trying to maintain health and strength in the middle of busy, unpredictable lives. and they'd found something that actually worked with that reality instead of against it. Would it work for everyone? That's not for us to say. This is educational information based on personal experience and research, not medical advice. But the principles: progressive resistance, flexible movement patterns, reduced barriers to consistency, those seem universally valuable, regardless of fitness level or goals. If you're struggling with home workouts, feeling limited by space or equipment, or just sensing that something's missing from your routine, maybe the answer isn't more complicated. Maybe it's simpler than you think. Sometimes the solution to a puzzle isn't finding bigger pieces. It's recognizing you've been trying to force the wrong shapes into spaces they were never meant to fill. Tell us which country or city you're watching from. See you in the next video. Bye.